everyone. I will cover up these 5 minutes. Don't worry. I'll extend my session for 10 minutes if you have time. Don't worry. So thank you so much, Dr. Kilmer, Dr. Balkin. So nice of you to just keep on continue to engage the students. So in the meantime, I was able to fix my issues.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
All right. So today we are supposed to be discussing another important function of HRM, that is socializing, orientation, and developing employees. Let me remind all of you that this is the third session in the series of HRM that we are studying. Previously, we did talk about human resource planning, and in the previous session, we were focused on human resource planning, recruitment, and selection. So this is in continuation of that. You can find the earlier lectures on social media pages of the university and on their YouTube channel as well. So, so as this is a technical kind of a topic, so you will be seeing a lot of slides, but I would be covering only the main major content that is due in the next 1 hour, and you will have the access to these slides. So if you have any question, you can always feel free to reach out to me even after the session. I would be more than happy to respond. During this session, I request that you use the chat box to share all your opinions and questions. And at the end, we will try to take some questions and will be more interactive. Okay. So let us move to the next slide. So we'll start with what is employee orientation, socialization, and training. When a new employee is inducted within an organization, it takes some time for him or her to get used to what's going on in the organization, how they do their work over there. And if the organization does not do anything about it, if they just allow the employee to learn the things on his own or her own, that may become really complicated. The turnover ratio for employees is very high in the initial 1 or 2 months when they join an organization, because they have some unreal expectations maybe regarding their work at the organization. They are sometimes unaware of how the things are being done at a certain organization. So when they join, sometimes it happens that they do not find themselves a suitable fit for that organization, or they do not find the adequate support and help that they need from the organization to get them going. So HR department plays a very significant role over here. What they do is they design orientation and socialization strategies to make sure that the employees, they feel very comfortable right at the beginning of their work, and they get adjusted to the norms, values, and practices of the organization. And then we are going to talk about the training and development needs, which are somehow related to orientation and socialization, but they are a separate function altogether of HR. All right. So, what is socialization? You see a door, and I mean, it's like an inside outside passage. The employee is coming in an organization, and he or she needs to adapt to the changes, to all the things that are happening within an organization. Now, HR department needs to design a 1 week or a 2 week, or depending upon the nature of the work, a time barred program in which they were going to give the orientation and socialization practices to the employees, so they are quickly aware and they feel adjusted, they feel welcomed, and they feel that they can start being productive immediately. So what are the assumption of employee socialization? Socialization strongly influences employee performance and organizational stability. Why this is important? Because the organization cannot just wait for the employee to settle down on his or her own. They just want them to be productive as soon as possible. And it is like welcoming. Uh, when the new members, they do suffer from anxiety. It is a very common understanding that if even if you are joining a new organization, or if you are even if you are going to a new neighborhood, you would feel a bit of stress and an anxiety that they are going to be new people. You just come out of your comfort zone. So what the organization can do is they would want to make you feel more comfortable, and HR is the responsible department for it. Socialization is influenced by subtle and less subtle statements and behaviors exhibited by colleagues, management, employees. The individuals need to adjust to new situations, and all employees go through the settling in period. Now, it's a basic assumption that the joining period of any employee within an organization is something that needs attention. And the main focus over there is to develop a comfort zone. And it's not just an informal activity of just like sitting together and having chit chat and just having tea, maybe. It is about having a full fledged program in which there are going to be different sections. For example, I'm just going to give you an example that an organization, uh, when welcomes a new employee, probably for first couple of weeks, they would want to assign a mentor to that employee. Now, what the mentor is going to do is he or she is going to take the employee by hand, and for the next couple of weeks, they'll show them how the work is being done at the organization. They'll tell them about different offices, what are the work routines, uh, what do the people do in their lunch breaks, even, I mean, how the things are being done. Organizational culture is something that is very unique, and we do understand that top companies in this world, they work on developing their organizational culture in a way that it becomes a source of competitive advantage for them. So in order to understand that culture, it is important for the organization to develop and design orientation and socialization strategies that enable the employees to get a hang of that culture right away. I'll give you an example of a very popular company named as Zappos. Zappos is an online shoe seller company, and it's quite famous for its cultural practices. You are going to find such wonderful videos and interview of the CEO on the YouTube, and it's a very interesting case study of management. You know what Zappos does? Its hiring process is very unique. I mean, I'll start with giving you an example of the recruitment and selection process. Its recruitment and selection process is very extensive. People say that it is easier getting into Harvard and it is difficult getting into Zappos. So once they induct an employee, in the first couple of weeks, Zappos initially offers the employees $2,000 if they want to leave the organization and go. This is an interesting thing. I mean, no company does it. What they do is when an employee joins the organization, they offer him or her $2,000 that if you want to leave the organization within first couple of weeks, you can do that and we'll pay you money. What could be the reason behind that? The reason is if that individual does not find himself or herself to be a suitable fit in the organizational culture, obviously he's not going to contribute. They're not going to be valuable. So rather than they just waste next 4 to 6 months, they're not just wasting their own time, they are wasting the organizational resources as well. So the company wants to let them go, and they want to give them an incentive of $2,000 that you can actually leave the organization and go if you find that you are not a suitable fit for the organization. Why? Because each organization has a specific and a different organizational culture. So the familiarity or the understanding of the culture is largely dependent on the orientation and socialization practices that the HR department should develop. I hope it is easy for you all to understand. Now, the socialization process is divided into some stages. I'll quickly go through them. First is obviously the pre-arrival stage. I'm not sure what this picture is depicting, but I mean, the pre-arrival stage means that individuals arrive with a set of values and attitudes and expectations which they have developed from previous experiences and the selection processes. All employees, they come within an organization with an existing mindset that they assume that the organizational working is going to be in such and such way. All right. So this is a pre-arrival stage. The organization cannot make any specific impact over here, but they do need to understand that it's not easy for anyone who is coming from any other organization or who is a fresh graduate and they are joining the organization. It's not easy for them to adapt abruptly. So, understanding of the pre arrival stage is a basic principle of developing an orientation and socialization strategy. So, what happens next? The next is the encounter stage, where the individuals discover how well their expectations match realities within the organization. This is very interesting and very important. Let me share a context of employer branding with you. I mean, you may have heard about branding of different companies. For example, Pepsi is a brand, McDonald's is a brand, Apple iPhone is a brand. I learned to use MacBook today, and that that is also a very famous brand. So uh, these brands, they carry an image, they carry an impression. Same goes for employer branding. What the employers want to do when they want to induct new people in their organization, they would want to develop a brand, that what kind of an employer are we. Obviously, the top companies, they would want to show to the talent that they are the companies which offer flexible timings, which offer a conducive working environment, which offer rewards and benefits like no other, the market competitive salaries there. I mean, all the wonderful things that can happen to an employee, they are willing to offer that. So when the employees are actually applying for a job in a certain organization, they do understand that what is this organization offering to them. So in this encounter stage, the offerings and the expectations of the employee, they intersect. I won't say they collide, because sometimes they do match as well. So the organization needs to understand that the employee coming with to from external environment, he or she may have certain expectations, certain set of core values. We need to find a suitable match with those values. We need to firstly determine that how do we want to do work over here, and how this individual who is coming on board is going to be a suitable fit in the organization. So when the individuals adapt to the organization and they feel accepted and know what is expected of them, then this is the called as the metamorphosis stage. This is the stage where or the result of the orientation and socialization process starts to happen. The employees, they get to know that uh, all right, this is how things are being done over here. These are my set of core values, and this is how I do things over here. So will I be able to be a good match in the organization, or how things are going to proceed? So this is the a graphical representation of the socialization process. Pre-arrival stage leads to encounter, which leads to metamorphosis, which, and the outcome obviously is what? The company wants the employees to make a decision whether they want to be productive, they want to show commitment, or they can eventually leave the organization. Turnover may also happen, because as far as the data suggests that the number of that the ratio of turnover in the first 2 or 3 weeks uh, of any employee's life cycle in an organization is very high, because whatever expectations they have when they come in the organization, sometimes the expectations match, then productivity happens, and sometimes there is a mismatch between the expectations and what the employee has to offer, and that can go sideways. Similarly, orientation is something that is done by the managers who receive the employees, and it can be a combination of formal and informal activities, covering activities like focusing on what the organization is, what do they do, what is their nature of business, what is their history, what is their core philosophy, how do they do work, what are the policy and procedural settings, what are the different rules that are being followed, what role does HR department play, and what are the, I mean, everything about what the organization is. It's like an introduction. So you're just welcoming the employee, and you would want to make sure that all the related aspects of the employment are covered. So I did talk about the culture, and I'm just going to like focus a bit more on it, because uh, culture includes the unwritten rules. I mean, the companies, they can talk about a lot of rules and policies and procedures, and they can give the whole like printouts of those documents to the new employees, that these are the rules and foundations of our values and principles, and you can go on and read them. But what is actually being practiced, what is actually happening within the organization, that may be something as a unwritten rule, that may be something informal, that may be something at a human level. So organizational culture and how it is depicted, it is something very critical. I believe, as an individual, as a student of HR, as a teacher of HR, I believe that organizational culture is the most important factor within any organization. It is like the topmost reason to become a source of competitive advantage for any organization. This is what leads any organization towards long-term success. And since it is a combination of formal and informal activities, so the organization has like 50% control over it, and the 50% result is what the employees perceive, what the culture is, and how do they respond to it. So, excuse me. So, socialized employees know how things are done, what matters, and which behaviors and perspectives are acceptable. There are different jargons that employees of an organization they use. There are different keywords. There are different terms that they use. Uh, like for example, in our university where I teach, we don't use the word class very frequently. We use the word course folder. I mean, this may be very strange for you to because you may not be able to understand what it means. Our jargon is that, have you taken the course folder? This means that, have you taken the class? So, so these jargons are the keywords or the phrases which the organizations develop over the period of time, and it depends on the organization that what type of jargons, what type of keywords, and what type of different interesting phenomena they would want to introduce. The important thing is that the new employee should be knowing about them. Similarly, the CEO, I mean, it's really good if the CEO welcomes you when you join the organization. I mean, this is something wonderful. Uh, I've heard that there is probably a virtual convocation or a virtual degree awarding activity going on for AIU. So I think the main head or the main dean of your university would be communicating there. So this is a special moment. Like people find it very special when the deans and the chairmen and the CEOs they find time to speak to you. Uh, the CEO can play a very important role when it comes to employee orientation and socialization. They can obviously welcome employees. They can provide an overview of the vision of the organization. Similarly, introduce what organizational culture is, why does it matter, convey that the company cares about the employees, and inform the employees and help them to remove their fears, anxieties, and stress if they may have regarding the job. Obviously all these activities are planned and executed by HRM. Why are we talking about it in HRM's class? Is because human resource management department plays a very critical and important role in determining this orientation and socialization plan. It is the main coordinator in it. It instructs the new employees when and where to report, providing information about what is happening within the organization, what are the different rules, regulations. They are basically the event managers of this whole activity. Then there is HRM offers its assistance for future employee needs, career guidance, training. HR presents itself as the caretaker for the employees when they join an organization. So they know who to talk to whenever they are finding any problem, whenever they are encountering any issue. They know that they can reach out to the HR department. So we are done with the orientation and socializing part. We are going to be focusing on employee training and development. Let me remind you once again, if you have any question, any opinion, anything that you would like to share, you can use the chat box and share your opinion over there, all right? Okay. So training and development is considered as one of the most important and integral functions of an organization. And before going into the details, let me tell you that investing on an employee is something that is the probably the best thing that an organization can do in order to ensure employee motivation, job satisfaction, and employee commitment. Because once the organization spends money and resources in developing him or her, That skill set, that thing that the employee has learned, it is going to be with him for the rest of his life. Now, the employee can leave the organization and go to some other company and start working over there, but the investment that the organization has done, it's going to be with him. I've already given you one example, but I'll share it again in the context. Big companies, famous companies like Coca-Cola, they have wonderful training and development programs. The top example for this is that one of its recent CEOs was Mukhtar Kent, a Turkish nationality CEO who served as a CEO for Coca-Cola Global. And he, like 20, 30 years back, he started as a salesman in this organization. Now, the salesman position is a very entry-level position. You know, how was he able to become the CEO after 20, 25 years? How he managed to do that? It was not his luck. I mean, not completely his luck. I mean, some role was there, but it is the organizational activities, their design, their training and development program, their career development program that they give this opportunity to all the entry level employees. That if you work hard, if you groom yourself, if you train, you will get an opportunity to even become the CEO of the organization. This is one real life, a wonderful example. So organizations, good organizations, what they do is they develop training and development programs because they would want to make sure that the employees, they are well equipped with all the things that are required to perform that job effectively. There are multiple aspects to it. Like for example, there is a certain software that your organization is using. Maybe it's SAP or some other software, some other information system software that your organization is using. So when you come from a different organization, you do not know how to use that software because it's like something that the organization is doing. So they would want to offer you a training program. Uh, Initially, in the start of getting a job, the company would want to make sure that the employee learns that software, learns that training, learns that tool which is being used in the organization and starts working immediately, starts being productive immediately. Now, this is like a kind of a situational training need that needs to be addressed. On the other hand, the organization would want to make sure that when the employee is going through different organizational levels, they would want to learn different skills. For example, leadership skill is something that the employee would want to learn. So when he or she is actually moving through the different organizational levels, the company would want to make sure that they are equipped with the leadership skill as well, and so on and so forth with all the other leadership, all the other, sorry, skills, either soft skills or hard skills, which are required for the employees to be more productive. So employee training and development, what HR has got to do with it, basically it is their responsibility to firstly identify the need of training, and secondly to find resources, to allocate resources to conduct those trainings, and to relate those trainings with the overall development of the employees, which then later on leads towards the career development of an employee. So this is like a whole structure. If you know what HR department is and how it works, you will be able to get my point. Just let me quickly repeat it for you. Training is one time activity, like it can be a 2-day training activity, but HR knows the bigger picture. Like 10 trainings like these is going to help employee to learn a specific skill. This specific skill is needed so that the employee can move on to the next level, to the next organizational position or level. And over there, we would want to induce some new training programs, new development programs, through which eventually the employee would be able to continue elevating through the career path. And eventually, he or she ends up becoming the CEO of the organization, just like in the example I told you. All right. So, obviously, it starts with determining the training needs, Now, specific training goals should be based on organizational needs, types of work to be done, and skills necessary to complete the work. I've already given you the relevant examples, which do help you understand that organizations, when they conduct certain type of training programs, there needs to be a clear-cut logic or a clear-cut rationale behind it, because in terms of time and money, a lot of resources are being invested in training and development program. It is the most expensive function that HR department is doing, and sometimes the companies, they believe that it 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 becomes useless. It becomes useless when the employees, they leave the organization. But obviously, if the company wants the employees to have to give their full, if the company wants the employees to be very productive and fully committed and satisfied with their work, they would want to invest on them. So, how do you know that there is a need for training? Obviously, the companies, they do performance management, which is another function. We are going to talk about it later in coming classes, but performance management is something that is done by HR. Like, you evaluate the performance of the employees after 6 months or 1 year, depending upon the nature of work. So that performance evaluation, it does give you some kind of results. So based on those results, I mean, like, if based on those results, if like everybody is doing really well, if there is an organization and their results state that everybody is doing really well, so the company may not have a need to do training. But this is not what happens. Generally, there are like 30% top performers, there are 30% average performers, and then there are below average performers. So in order to make sure that the below average performers have the adequate knowledge of the resources, equipment, and tools which are required to perform that job effectively, the company would want to initiate training and development program. Uh, if after 6 months, if performance appraisal is done and it shows that there is a drop in productivity, so that means training and development programs are required. Job performance, if declines, if, for example, the employees are making a lot of mistakes in their work, so this shows. I mean, it depends on the type of nature of work. The HR department needs to keep a check, needs to keep an eye on how employees are performing. If their performance deficiency is somehow related with addressing it with a training initiative, then the training program can be offered. TNA, basically we call it TNA, training need analysis. In order to understand the training needs, that is one of the most critical steps, because the company would want to invest the time and resources on the training programs which offer value. Sometimes we see that there are certain training programs initiated which may not give the desired results, because of like a 1 day training on leadership may not give you the desired result. If you just like right away offer a 3 day team building activity to your company, it would give you some kind of results, but those results would not be tangible, verifiable, and measurable, because we do understand that team building or leadership are the kind of soft skills which require trainings based on a longer period of time, which require regular reinforcement and which do require some on the job orientations as well. Like, if you are given a training of being a good team player, and you work with the computers only, you don't have the people around you to work with, then how are you going to practice that team building activity? All right. So it is very important and critical for the HR department to ensure that the training needs are identified in a way that the goals they determine are tangible, means they can actually know that what is going to be the outcome of this training. It should not be based on a guess or an idea, it should be completely quantifiable. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, what is going to be the result of the employee after getting this specific training? On a scale of 1 to 10, will they be able to become an 8 out of 10 kind of leader? If yes, then we should invest money on that. Otherwise, that activity may not be fruitful. Just please have a look on this graph, and I'll allow me to have a glass of water. Can you please pass the glass? I just need to like, okay. All right, just allow me to take a sip.
Reminding you, ladies and gentlemen, you are with Atlantic International University, and our presenter today is Professor Umar Hassan, telling
Yes.
us about human resources.
All right, thank you so much. You have been very helpful today, really. Thank you so much.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
yeah, I'm a bit under the weather as well because of the whole traveling thing. So just like I wanted to have a sip of water. Thank you so much. So in order to determine the training needs, firstly, it needs to be understood that what are the organizational goals, because all initiatives by the HR department, they should be aligned with the organizational goals. This is the main context of strategic nature of HRM. Uh, in our earlier lectures, I did talk about it in detail that HR can be taken as an operational function or it can be assumed as a strategic activity. The best thing would be that HR is taken as a strategic activity because it works like a business partner, it works like the backbone of an organization, based on the assumption that employees are the most important component within an organization. So, who makes the employees happy? Who makes them feel productive? It is the HR department. So, whatever they are doing, whatever activity they are planning or initiating, it needs to be completely aligned with the organizational goals. So, in this context, if the HR department wants to initiate a training program, firstly, it needs to understand that what are the organizational goals. Then, what tasks must be completed to achieve its goals. Then, what behaviors, soft skills are necessary for each job incumbent to complete his or her arranged tasks. What deficiencies, if any, do incumbents have in the skills, knowledge, or abilities required to exhibit the necessary job behaviors? Very interesting. Since we are relating this training assessment thing with the induction of new employee within an organization, so what we are trying to do is to understand that what training needs are there to be fulfilled for this new individual who is joining the organization. What is his or her level of skills that we need for the job? That those skills, they do include the soft as well as the technical skills, and what deficiencies they may have. Now, all employees need to go through certain specific kind of tests, or some data is being collected by their managers or by their co-workers by 360-degree evaluation maybe, or by some other methods which continuously ranks them. All employees in an organization are continuously being ranked. I mean, everybody, like the main concern, the managers, the peers, and the HR department should be knowing that what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of the employees. So, in order to address those weaknesses, which are directly related to their core job, which are directly related to achieving the organizational goals, the company would want to initiate training needs. So, there are certain specific different training methodologies. Uh, Job rotation and understudy assignments, very interesting. Like if somebody is working in a specific position, like take the example of Mukhtar Kent, which I shared earlier, who was the CEO of Coca-Cola. If he would have excelled only in sales position, do you think that he would be able to become the CEO someday? Not possible. The reason is that a CEO needs to be aware of all the job roles and of all the functions. So his career path would be maybe, I don't know for sure, but maybe that initially he spent his 5 years in marketing, sales. Then maybe he developed his expertise in mid-level career, maybe managing other departments as well. So because when he ended up becoming the CEO, he was managing all the functions of the organization. So on a longer period of time, this is a part of job rotation. Rather than just encouraging the employee to focus on one job, one specialized task, and continue to learn that, employee training may include job rotation. Like your job, like for 2 months, you work in a specific job position. For the next 2 months, you work in a different job position, and this whole circulation continues. The objective behind this activity is to make sure that the employee is well equipped with different requirements, different working of different departments. All right. These are on the job training methods. Off the job training methods include classroom lectures, showing videos and films, simulation exercises, very good. Now, simulation exercises is something very interesting uh, because it is like playing a role. You know, when pilots they train, obviously they cannot be given a plane right away. They cannot just be offered a plane that you just take the key and start it and try to fly it because obviously then they would be putting the plane and themselves to a lot of harm. So what the company does is that it offers them simulations. Simulation is like a plane, but it's not actually flying. They're sitting in a plane and all the gadgets are there. So they are using all the gadgets. It's like they're actually flying a plane, but it's not a plane as such. It's a simulation. So, vestibule training refers to a training method that focuses on imparting job education training to skilled personnel who need to deal with machinery and equipment. Now, it depends, uh, depending upon the nature of the job. If you are working in a managerial capacity, then you would want to learn the soft skills. If you are dealing with the machineries and equipment, then obviously your technical and hard skills would require more attention. These small training activities, when they combine, they eventually converge into a development program. Development is um, a concept which includes that various training activities, when they combine, they comprise of employee development. Training may be a short-term activity based on achieving a specific goal. But development is a long-term and an ongoing activity, and it may have multiple goals to be achieved. And obviously, there is a future direction to it. A future-oriented set of activities is predominantly an educational process. All employees, regardless of level, can benefit from the methods previously used to develop managerial personnel. This is something very important, regardless of the nature of work that the employee is doing, the company should be enabling them to learn managerial capacities in order to invest on them for future, that they may end up becoming managers or heads of their specific specialized roles. Now, in employee development, similarly, job rotation, I've already told you what it is, and apprenticeship is one way. Apprenticeship, uh, we have a mentor or a coach associated with the employees, and these coaches, these mentors, they provide assistance to the new inductees or the current people, because they get the opportunity to work with the successful managers. This apprenticeship has been there for like, this is a very interesting concept. I used to wonder that the medical degrees, they are just coming like in the recent history. If somebody becomes a dentist, we ask him or her that where did you study, and they tell us that from university A, university B, or university C. But let's go back to the time when there were no universities, there was no formal education. People were still dentists at that time. I'm not talking about the Stone Age, but like some time afterwards. So, how did people learn certain skills? Like, if somebody knew how to make a tire or how to like do hunting, how would the next people learn? They don't have a degree program being offered for that. They learn it through apprenticeship. Like, the new person would want to sit with him or her. It is just like how the monks they train their new inductees. They just take them along. They just make them their apprentice. So this apprenticeship is a very interesting and very effective training and development program that the organizations can use, because just like in this case, the experience of Dr. Valkin, I mean, if somebody new who joins AIU, if he or she is honored to be working with Dr. Valkin based upon his experience, then the learning that this new inductee will have, obviously it will be unmatched. No other organizational activity or function can possibly match this activity. So this is one of the very interesting modes. There are many modes like committee assignments, provide group tasks or group projects or short-term projects is another very interesting way of learning and development for the employees. They can work in groups for a specific period of time, and the group may have people who have not actually worked together with each other earlier. So when they collaborate, when they coordinate, there are different kind of challenges. The first challenge is working with new people. So if an individual is able to, if an individual has the team building or leadership abilities, he or she would be able to collaborate really quickly with the employees, and they will be able to work on that collective assignment. Uh, a very common tool is having lectures, courses, and seminars and workshops. And I mean, these happen overall. These are something very, very common. Like, this is something that is happening right now. I'm taking a class. So I do conduct these training programs with various organizations in my country as well. And just to talk about the different aspects of maybe HR or organizational behavior. So this is one another common tool. Now, do ask yourself, from the different training methodologies that we have discussed, which one do you think is the most effective? Or you would say it is cost effective as well, and it is more like result oriented as well. It totally depends on how you see it. Uh, I have already mentioned that simulations, like the example of pilot learning to actually fly a plane. Uh, Simulations, they include case studies, decision games, role plays, and other decision-making tools. In outdoor training, uh, this is a very common and very interesting mode of learning, that leadership camps. This is one thing that I like doing a lot. I hold training leadership camps in the outdoors, in the wilderness. We make teams. We give all the teams some color. We give them names. We give them certain tasks that they need to achieve, and it is like a 1 or 2 day activity, but it helps in learning so many wonderful things about team building, leadership, and other soft skills, conflict management, negotiation, other soft skills as well. Very quickly, in the last part of my topic presentation, I would want to talk about change management, because organizational system, processes, people, they are constantly evolving. This evolution needs to be tapped by the HR department to ensure that all the needs of the employees to adapt accordingly are being met. They are well equipped in terms of understanding the technology, the process, how the work of the organization goes on, and in order to be more productive. So organizational development facilitates. It can be done. OD facility can be done through survey feedback. The managers, they give feedback to the. I mean, I did mention that the company, if it takes appraisals after 6 months or 1 year, they need to keep hold of that data and try to design that appraisal in a way that employee strengths and weaknesses are being listed. Because based on that data, the HR department would be able to easily establish the training and development programs. Uh, there are multiple methods, including survey, and this data can be used. All right. More like I'll try to wind up because we are all right. So, in order to make sure that organizational development is effective, team building, I've already mentioned about team building, but this is one important activity that the company wants to do, because soft skills, not only team building, but leadership skills, conflict management, negotiation, communication skills, written and verbal communication skills, these are very important in terms of employee development and growth. So the HR department would want to make sure that in order to flourish a culture of dependability, in order to develop a collective culture among the employees, these skills need to be really enhanced. Because if they are like promoting individual players only, the culture is not going to benefit. It will only benefit when people are depending upon each other, people are working together with a attitude of trust, openness, and teamwork. Because the idea behind this is that an organization needs to be a learning organization. It needs to evolve regularly. This evolution, adapting to new change, learning new things, uh, practicing new things, this is something that is going to serve as a source of competitive advantage for the organization. When you see different leading brands, they're just trying new things every day, because they're just trying to set the pattern of the future. Uh, they enjoy the first mover advantage, they take initiatives, and then the rest of the organizations, they follow. So big companies, top companies, successful companies, they would want to be initiators rather than followers. So how can one initiate? Because when the organization is going to keep a tap on the changes going on in the environment and how they are responding to it, what are the initiatives they plan to take, only then they will be able to develop it into a competitive advantage. Like currently, the AI is considered to be a very significant factor. It's like something very trending right now. I mean, people are talking about Chat GPT and AI and other tools which are there. So the businesses are thinking that what benefit can they take from this AI system? And we are going to see that in next 6 or 8 months, many systems are going to evolve, or they are going to change in the context of using AI. So the point is that top companies are learning companies. They are always in the process of evolution, and that sets the tone for training and development activities. All right. So I will be sharing these slides with you. So since I've already talked about few points, so if they come on the slide and I skip them, then do not worry. You can always have a look on the slides after this session and do ask me if there is any question. The last part of today's discussion is regarding cross-cultural training. Since we do understand that people, I mean, with the advent of many MNCs, multinational companies, people from all over the world, they have an access, they have an opportunity to work in different workplaces, different environments. So it is important for the companies who have people of different nationality working for them to make sure that the required cross cultural training is there, because we do understand that the cultures of world they are different. So when you are coming from one country and you're going to another, you have to adapt to certain norms, values, and things that are happening over there. This is a very dynamic topic and it's like a very long topic, but we do understand that people are different, countries are different. So it is important that cross-cultural training is given. It is always good to know about the history, the political situation, the economy, the religion, the social climate, and the business practices of any country that you wish to operate in. This in itself is a very interesting topic, because case study of companies working in China, very interesting case studies, because a different set of dynamics are there. Similarly, companies working and expanding to India, they find it completely different. Going to other European regions, they find those challenges different. So this kind of orientation, it should be there. So this was all about my presentation today. I did try to cover many things, because we did talk about orientation and socialization. We did talk about training and development. And I tried to help you understand that why all these things are critically important and what